My fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country.
This quote was said by the 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy.
Unfortunately, John F. Kennedy was assassinated before his first term of presidency was over.
Hi, I'm Bridget.
And I'm Catherine.
And I'm Claire.
And this is Crash Course World History number 35 on the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Post-World War II gave rise to two hegemons, the United States and the Soviet Union. They constantly fought over their economic ideals, the United States having capitalism and Soviet Union having communism. These tensions gave rise to the Cold War, and one of the major aspects of the Cold War was the threat of nuclear weapons. We'll talk about that later in the show, though.
John F. Kennedy became President of the United States on January 20th, 1961, and remained in office until November 22nd, 1963. President Kennedy was an activist when it came to civil rights movements in the United States and played an active role in dismantling communism.
During the Cold War, third world countries had to choose between democratic and communist states. The country we're going to focus on today is Cuba and its leader Fidel Castro. Cuba created ties with the Soviet Union and received large funds of money, therefore releasing all ties with the United States.
Go.
While this relationship may have worked out for the Soviet Union and Cuba, it really didn't sit well with the United States. Since JFK was such an active leader in anti-communism, he decided to take a stand.
Go.
A group of Cuban citizens who were not happy with the situation that was going on in their country decided to go to JFK and plead with him to help them get their country back to its normal state. JFK accepted this offer and decided to plan what is known as the Bay of Pigs. The Bay of Pigs is an area in Cuba, as you can see here on the map.
After the Bay of Pigs' failure, the Soviet Union sensed weakness in the United States military security. With this in mind, they constructed nuclear missile launch pads on Cuba. The Soviets thought that Cuba was a perfect location for the missile launch pads because it was only 90 miles off the coast of Florida. The United States military discovered that the Soviet Union was shipping the nuclear missiles to the Cuban base. So the U.S. Navy blockaded the Cuban coast in order to protect Florida and the rest of the country from being attacked. This standstill created mass panic within the United States, and today is actually known as the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Americans, not knowing whether or not a nuclear war would break out with the Soviet Union.
Because of these events, tensions between communist states and the democratic nations were higher than ever. Communists and the ideals of the communist people existed in the United States. These events, along with the communist people living in the United States, led to the assassination of JFK, the president.
Claire! I thought that the communist people were only from USSR.
Know me from the past, communist people did live in the U.S.
Previously in this video, we've talked about the reason for JFK's assassination and events leading up to it, but now we're going to talk about the day of. Many people describe the day of his assassination as cheerful and bright because the president was coming to town. President Kennedy was on a campaigning spree in 9 different states in 2 weeks. Among these states was Texas, and more specifically Dallas. When he arrived at Dallas, he got into a car with Governor Conley and his wife. JFK and Jackie were also in the same car. They went to go to a speech that the president was going to make at the Trade Mart, and along the way, tragedy struck. Tragedy struck along the way to the Trade Mart when JFK was fatally struck by 2 bullets. These 2 bullets were thought to come from the Texas School Book Depository along Main Street. JFK was shot in the neck first. This was a non-fatal shot, but a second shot that hit him in the head unfortunately killed the president. Oh, hey, Catherine.
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Wait, what are you trying?
What
are you trying?
leave?
No,
Can you leave?
no.
Okay. So, anyways, as Bridget was talking about how President Kennedy was tragically shot and actually killed, we have to leave off on how Bridget started this day. She started with a beautiful day, and now this day was definitely changing because the United States loved their... Stop. JFK immediately fell into Jackie's lap, while Governor Connolly was shot in the chest, but it was a non-lethal bullet. JFK was treated at Parkland Memorial Hospital and was pronounced dead at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Lyndon B. Johnson took the oath of office on Air Force One, where John F. Kennedy's body was placed. Police arrested and charged Lee Harvey Oswald with the murder of John F. Kennedy.
The Warren Commission was an assembly that was hired to determine the cause of JFK's death. The Warren Commission concluded that only 3 shots were fired and from one person, Lee Harvey Oswald. While many people believe this theory to be true, also many believe that this is not the case. Multiple conspiracy theories exist, but the most common ones are that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't act alone, and that someone from a grassy knoll by the side of the motorcade also took a shot. The problem is that many of these conspiracy theorists have actual evidence to back up their thinking. Technology wasn't as good as it was today, and so that means that mic and video recordings that were taken were not as good of quality and cannot therefore prove that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. More on the grassy knoll conspiracy theory is that in 1979, an investigation conducted by Congress House Assassinations Committee found that a 4th shot, which missed JFK, had been fired from a white picket fence on the grassy knoll right by the motorcade. The article published by JFK assassination researcher D.B. Thomas in Science and Justice said that the original Lee Harvey Oswald theory was incorrect and that the new grassy knoll theory was indeed correct. While science may never be able to prove which theory is right, the most commonly accepted one is that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Despite finding out who did it, the still unfortunate effect is the same, that JFK, a beloved president, was assassinated, and that can never be taken back.
But first, let's see what's in the secret compartment. Oh, it's a cupcake! Happy birthday to JFK! An open letter to Jack Ruby. Jack, you may seem like an American hero. I mean, after all, you killed Lee Harvey Oswald, who killed JFK.
Lee Harold Oswald has been shot.
But I mean, you're still a killer. You still murdered someone. And I mean, come on, you were a nightclub owner. We may not like communists, but we don't like murderers either.
Let's go to the thought bubble. Lee Harvey Oswald, the alleged killer of John F. Kennedy, was emotionally disturbed and was a believer in communism. Oswald was part of the pro-Castro group. He worked in the Texas School Book Depository, where he fatally wounded the governor and killed the president. Oswald claimed to be part of a larger conspiracy, and the 1976 committee from the U.S. House of Representatives stated that there may have been a second person involved. We will never be certain because Oswald was killed by Jack Ruby while being transported.
The assassination of President John F. Kennedy not only left a huge void in America's political climate, but also in the global political climate. The world lost a strong democratic leader who promoted equality and was a huge support in dismantling communism globally.
Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Thanks for watching.
Bloopers! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7!
Claire, I only thought that communist people.
Previously in these videos, I mean in this individual video that we've done so far, because we've only done one in this whole series.
John F. Kennedy.
A group of your fingers over the camera. It's not. Because of these events, I have no idea what I'm saying.
Among these many campaign stops was Fort Worth, Texas, and Dallas, Texas.